Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. I'm not a man who lives for revenge. Never have been. I don't wake up plotting or hoping karma bites someone in the ass. My philosophy has always been simple. Keep your head down, do good, and life sorts itself out. But sometimes, life throws you a pitch so slow, so fat, you'd be a damn fool not to swing. This whole mess started over a decade ago. I was married to Sarah for 10 years. We had 2 kids, Jake and Chloe. High school sweethearts, the whole 9 yards. Got hitched young, built a quiet life. I was in IT support, Sarah was home with the kids. Nothing fancy, but it was solid. Or so I thought. Around year 7, cracks started showing. Subtle stuff at first. She was suddenly obsessed with the gym. New gear, makeup just to sweat, the works. Then came the phone. Always face down. Brightness cranked low. Quick to lock if I even glanced her way. "Who are you texting all the time?" I asked one night, trying to sound casual. "Oh, just Maria. Yoga retreat planning," she mumbled, not looking up. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Maybe she was just finding herself after years of being a stay-at-home mom. And honestly, I was drained. Long hours, always on call. Some server crashing or password emergency dragging me back to work. I was stressed, probably a little absent. So I didn't push. Figured she just needed space. Then came the night everything shattered. She walked in at 5:45 p.m., gym bag slung over her shoulder like always, but her face was different. Cold. Sad. "Can we talk?" she said, standing in the entryway like I was a stranger. "Sure," I replied, confused. She pulled a manila envelope from her bag, dropped it on the table. "I want a divorce." Just like that. No warning. No discussion. No attempt to fix anything. Just an envelope and a blank stare. I sat there, stunned. "What the hell, Sarah? Where is this coming from?" She just looked past me. "I've been unhappy for a long time, Ben. I can't keep doing this." Doing what? Being married? Raising our kids? I didn't get to ask more before she walked out. Turns out, she'd been seeing someone else. Mark, a guy from her gym. Newly divorced, that sleazy charm. A real estate license he never used. I found out later they'd been at it for at least a year before she even mentioned divorce. She lawyered up hard. Painted me as some absent workaholic dad who didn't give a damn. And because I didn't have the money for a decent attorney, or the fight left in me, I lost everything. She got the house. Primary custody. I got Jake and Chloe every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer. Pay child support like clockwork. It was humiliating. Watching my kids grow up from the sidelines, handing them off like they were rental property. Less than 6 months later, Mark moved into my house. The house I'd mowed, fixed, painted. Just like that, he was sleeping in my bed. They started posting family photos on Facebook, like I'd never existed. There was one time I'll never forget. Jake was getting out of Sarah's SUV during a handoff. He looked up at Mark and said, "Bye, Dad." Before catching himself, he turned to me, eyes wide with confusion and guilt. "It's okay, buddy," I managed, but I couldn't even smile. I waited until they drove off, sat in my car, and stared at the dashboard for 30 minutes. I didn't cry. I just shut down. That year was hell. Depression, loneliness. Couldn't afford therapy with child support, rent, bills. So I drank. I worked. I cried when no one was around. I just kept going, barely. Eventually, I pulled myself out of it. Got a promotion, finally afforded a better place. Nothing fancy, but clean, quiet. I focused on my kids. Rebuilt our relationship one visit at a time. Slowly, through consistency, showing up even when I was tired, even when they were distant. I didn't give up. 5 years later, I'm at my desk, troubleshooting some client email, when Sarah's name flashes on my phone. We hadn't had a real conversation in years. Everything was through the parenting app or text, strictly business. I answered, a knot in my stomach. "Is everything okay? Are the kids all right?" "Yeah, they're fine," she said, a little too casual. "I actually needed to ask you a favor." That threw me. "A favor?" "Yeah." She hesitated. "It's about Mark. He's trying to get a private student loan for his boys, the twins from his last marriage." I didn't say anything, just waited. "They need a cosigner," she continued. "You have good credit." I blinked, thought I misheard her. "Wait, you want me to co-sign a loan for Mark's kids?" "Yes," she said, like it was no big deal. "Look, his credit isn't great. His ex-wife already said no. You're financially stable and we have history, so I thought maybe—" "You thought maybe I'd help Mark get a loan?" I cut in, trying to grasp the sheer audacity. She exhaled, like I was being difficult. "I mean, it's just a signature. You wouldn't have to pay unless something went wrong." "Which it sounds like it very well could," I said flatly. "Let me think about it." What I actually did was make some calls. A buddy of mine works in finance. I gave him Mark's full name, old address, everything I had. He got back to me that night. "Ben," he said, "this guy's a financial disaster. Defaulted on multiple loans, liens on a failed business. His credit score's in the toilet. No way any bank should be lending to him." Then I got curious, started poking around, asking quiet questions. Dug a little into how things were going at home. Turns out not great. Jake had started acting out at school. Grades slipping, getting into trouble. Nothing major, just the usual signs that something was off. Enough to make me worry. Chloe had anxiety so bad she was seeing a therapist. I could see it in her face every time she came home from school. The way she'd freeze when things got stressful. I wasn't blind. This wasn't typical teenage angst. It was deeper. I found out Mark wasn't exactly Mr. Nice Guy. Apparently he was a control freak, emotionally manipulative, dismissive. The kind of guy who made everything about him. The kids never told me directly, but they didn't need to. They never wanted to cause drama, not with me, not with Sarah. But I saw the signs. Sarah never told me anything either, probably because she didn't want to admit she'd made a massive mistake letting him into our lives. So now, after everything, she wanted me to risk my credit to help him? To help Mark? Nah, I didn't waste any time. I called my lawyer. "We're going to need everything," I said when he picked up. "I want to go for full custody." And that's what we did. We compiled everything. Evidence of emotional neglect, therapy records for Chloe, school reports showing behavioral changes in Jake, missed medical appointments, my consistent financial and parental track record, statements from teachers and family friends. We had it all. When we filed, Sarah lost it. She called me every name in the book, accused me of blindsiding her, of using the kids to get back at her. "This isn't about the kids, Ben. You're just trying to hurt me," she yelled over the phone. But it didn't matter. None of her emotions or manipulation could change the facts. The court saw through it. The judge reviewed everything, including written statements from both Jake and Chloe, who at 12 and 14 were old enough to express their feelings about what was going on at home. The final hearing was tense. Sarah tried to cry on the stand, but it wasn't the tearful apology she thought it would be. It was a performance. Mark didn't even bother to show up. Couldn't even pretend he cared. Felt like a slap in the face. But that didn't matter either. What stuck with me was the judge's words, just before giving the verdict. "It's clear that the father has provided a more stable, consistent, and emotionally safe environment for the children." That was it. Full custody granted to me. Sarah sobbed. I didn't feel victorious. I felt no joy. All I felt was relief, like I could finally breathe again. It wasn't about winning. It was about my kids finally having the stability they deserved, finally feeling safe. As we were leaving the courthouse, Sarah walked up to me, still sniffling, wiping her nose. "I didn't think you'd actually do this," she said, her voice trembling. I looked at her, and for the first time in years I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, nothing. "That's your problem, Sarah," I replied, cold and calm. "You still think I'm the same man who let you walk all over him. Now the kids live with me full-time. We have routines, stability, peace. Therapy is ongoing, but they're healing. We are healing. The kids have come so far, and so have I. It's not perfect, but it's a life we're building together. As for the loan, she found another cosigner, probably her dad, but I don't care about that anymore. What she lost you can't put on paper. I didn't just get full custody. I got my life back, and my kids got me back. When the court handed me full custody, I thought the hard part was over. I was wrong. What I didn't anticipate was how quickly my life would change. I'd been a weekend dad for so long. I forgot what weekday chaos felt like. School drop-offs, lunches, doctor appointments, sports practice, parent-teacher meetings. It hit me like a tidal wave. I had to relearn how to be present in a way that went beyond just 2-day visits. I was used to the silence of the house after they left. Now I had to live through the routine with them every day. It was overwhelming at first, but it was necessary. Jake at 14 was standoffish. Not because he didn't want to be here, but because he didn't know how to trust it. He'd grown used to getting packed up and moved around like luggage. So when I told him this was permanent, he looked at me with doubt. He wasn't sure it wouldn't be taken away again. "Are you sure, Dad?" he asked quiet. "Like for real? You're not just going to change your mind?" It broke my heart to hear him sound so unsure. "This is real, Jake," I promised him. "I'm not going anywhere. You and Chloe are staying with me. This is your home now." Chloe, 12, clung to me for the first week like a shadow. She wouldn't leave my side for more than a few minutes. She cried herself to sleep 2 nights in a row, not because she missed her mom, but because she was scared. "Dad, what if Mom gets mad if I'm too happy here?" Her voice shaky, full of worry. That wrecked me. The idea that my daughter was afraid to be happy because she thought it might anger her mother crushed me, but I didn't have all the answers. All I could do was hold her, reassure her, and tell her she was safe here. I got them both into therapy immediately. The first few sessions were awkward. Jake barely spoke, arms crossed, staring at the floor. Chloe kept asking the therapist, "Will Mom get in trouble if I say too much?" Like she needed permission to speak without repercussions. But by month 2, things started to shift. Jake finally admitted something he hadn't said aloud before. "Mark used to call me a disappointment during arguments," he said, his voice quiet but heavy. "He'd punish me by not letting me eat, not hitting me, but just taking away meals. Petty stuff. It messed with my head. Hearing that shattered me. No child should go through that kind of emotional manipulation, especially from someone who was supposed to be a father figure." Chloe, too, started to open up. She admitted something I hadn't expected. "I felt like a burden," she said. "Like I was always in the way. Mom and Mark would handle the adult stuff and they told me to go play quietly. Like I wasn't supposed to be involved. Like I was just there, taking up space." It hurt to hear that. It wasn't just the neglect. It was the emotional weight my kids had carried for so long. The guilt, the confusion. They shouldn't have had to deal with that. They're still in therapy. And I go too every week. I have to. I need help unpacking my own guilt. Guilt for not fighting harder earlier, for letting years pass before I stepped up like this. After the court ruling, Sarah started telling people I manipulated the kids into saying bad things about her. She even tried to get CPS involved, claiming I was turning them against her. CPS came, interviewed the kids, visited the home, and left without incident. The case was closed in less than 2 weeks. What stung the most was realizing how low she'd stooped to maintain control, not for the kids' sake, but to protect her image. Her parents, who once supported her blindly, reached out to me afterward. Her own mother said to me, "I don't know who she is anymore." That comment felt like a punch to the gut. I could see it in her eyes. She knew, deep down, that Sarah was willing to tear everything apart just to hold onto the illusion she'd created. Sarah gets bi-weekly visitation. The court made it clear. Any alienation or manipulation, and her time would be reduced. So far, she's been showing up mostly, but the vibe is different. The kids have distanced themselves in ways I can't undo, and it breaks my heart, but it's not my fault. They say she's still with Mark, but they don't sleep in the same room. Apparently, Mark's kids never even ended up going to college. The loans weren't approved and the twins moved out. So the entire loan request drama? Completely pointless. She tried to casually bring that up during one of the drop-offs. "I guess you were right not to co-sign, huh?" she said with a nervous laugh, like it was some small victory. I didn't even respond. What was there to say? Last week, Jake brought home a math test with an A on it, the first he's had in 2 years. Chloe asked me if I'd be okay chaperoning her middle school dance next semester. We started having Sunday pancakes together. They fight over who gets to flip the first one. There's more laughter in our house now, more smiles. They're sleeping through the night, something I didn't think I'd ever see again. I'm not just their dad anymore. I'm their safe place. And that's something I'll never take for granted. If you told me 5 years ago this would be my life, that I'd go from broken weekend dad in a 1-bedroom apartment to this, I would have laughed or cried. I didn't think it was possible to rebuild something so shattered. I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel like I've won. But I do feel right. Like something twisted and wrong for years finally snapped back into place. It's like I've come home to myself, to my kids, to peace. I'll never get back the years I lost. But I have today. I have my kids. I have peace. And that's worth more than anything Sarah ever took from me.